Well, the time is just gone 8:55 a.m. as we head towards news this morning, and we are focusing on the Nehawu strike once again. And so much has been happening. A lot has been taking place. Last week, we had the opportunity of talking with Donovan Williams, and we've seen even over the weekend there were certain articles talking about these unions meant to protect the working class, and now they've become a curse. They are wreaking havoc with the strike. And this is the state of play that we see in the country in more ways than one. And someone who has written extensively about this is also a South African activist, Narendh Ganesh, talking about a state, and as a result of this now strike, a state that is gone rotten. And we're going now to be joined by Narendh Ganesh. Narendh, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show, sir.
Yes, it is clear that this country, we don't know where we are heading, and unions, meant to take up issues with regard to workers and the challenges that are faced with. But when we see protest action in recent times, we've seen it with the university students, we see it now with the Nahawu strike, that these protests have become just extremely violent. And again, the anger, the problems that unions are faced with are directed at the wrong people.
Yeah, as a constitutional construct, everyone has a right to protest should they be dissatisfied, with any aspect of their lives, especially as an employee. And the Nihao strike has taken a very nasty turn because patients have already died as a result. Now, the bullying and intimidation tactics leading to violence against health workers has to be condemned. Uh, there's an interdict already granted by the courts against these workers from from striking, and apparently Nihau is appealing that. But be that as it may, the strike now becomes unlawful. Any activity or any action taken by striking workers would be unlawful. But the sad state of affairs, and that's why I titled an article of mine with the state gone rotten, suggests that we are looking at a situation where essential services are being disrupted, especially in the healthcare system. The patients are the most vulnerable of them all, and you simply cannot deny people who need healthcare to have access to it. Protest all you want, think all you want, but do not disrupt the people who are providing such services from conducting their noble work.
Yes, and also I think what is very important is the government, and looking at the government's position. Now we learned this morning about the Minister of Health being at one of the hospitals, roping in the army to protect the facility, and these are initiatives that have taken place, but sometimes it's an action that is too late, because considering what has happened, the havoc that has already been created, and you allude to this in your article. We've seen how people have been harassed. That video clip of that doctor that was being harassed, the female doctor, and just how much responsibility is the government taking as far as this particular strike action is concerned.
Yeah. Look, Nihau is blaming the government for the deaths of the patients. Um, Government should have the intelligence in order to know that when there's any strike action, especially in South Africa, inevitably it falls back to violence, intimidation, and bullying. And proactive steps should have been taken at all the health facilities to protect both the workers wanting to conduct their services as well as the patients. So, and we must remember something. Nihau, being an affiliate of Kusato, which has a sweetheart relationship, well, I'm not sure if it's any more sweetheart, but a sweetheart relationship with the government, with the ruling party. And there's an expectation that, what we demand, we must get. Of course, one has sympathy for workers in any field of industry because we are underpaid, you know. But to demand such an increase as 10% as it is in this case, and they do know this, and I think they very well know this, that government is not going to exceed to 10% because there are many things with regards to that. Firstly, our fiscus is under extreme pressure at the moment. And secondly, should they accede to these demands, they automatically set precedent for future strikes. That what we demand, we must get. It's not possible. Our tax revenues are highly constrained with the high employment rate and stuff like that. There's many. It's a multifactorial aspect, not least that of the corruption and thuggery in government itself that reduces the funds available for public service. But what we need to understand and must understand that no amount of strike action must result in intimidation and violence. And it was very, very disappointing, disgusting, deplorable to watch that video I referred to, where a doctor is physically being attacked and removed from her workstation. These kinds of action does not evoke sympathy from the general public. It actually evokes repulsion and repugnance against such kind of action. And I think government needs to understand also that if they do not take proper action prior to something happening, they've got to preempt certain actions because we've got a history of it. And if they don't, then this kind of action will continue in other aspects. Other unions will take the cue from Nehawu, and that's going to be dangerous for South Africa in terms of safety, security, and the promotion of essential services or whatever services the union provide.
Yes, but also, what you do is you allude in your article and this relationship that this government has had with the unions for a very, very long time. And looking at the tripartite alliance they've had with the unions as a source of votes for the government. And clearly, this is also uppermost in the government's mind that, we may lose a fair amount of votes that we knew historically were ours. So it's a question of I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Yeah, look, that was the case. But the time has come when even government realizes there's not enough money in the kitty to meet demand. And we know that it's counterbalanced with the inflation rate and stuff like that. The offer by government is below that of the inflation rate. And the union wants and is demanding their pound of flesh. But whatever relationship there might have been politically uh, cannot be condoned in terms of the current action that is taking place. And we must be acutely aware of the fact that Nehawu, especially with this impending national health insurance system that is being proposed by government, which in my candid opinion, I come from a medical background, is not going to work simply because we do not have the infrastructure or the funds to implement it. So there's a whole myriad of factors that are complicating this strike action. But the bottom line is the patients or the system is being held to ransom by marauding workers who have no value for life, no respect for the rights of the others, which must be condemned. And I would dearly hope that those striking workers do not have families who are in the most vulnerable position, probably in critical or high care, and who will succumb to their very actions. Perhaps then someone might learn that, let us negotiate. Of course, you're not going to get every percent that you demand, but sometimes half a loaf is better than none, more especially with the constraint on our fiscal system at the moment.
Well, Naren, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning, right here on Salam Media. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, sir.
Narendh Ganesh, South African activist, with us this morning, and we're heading for the news. It's just gone 5 minutes past 9. So, Jedward is standing by.